Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life, and this is going to be fun. I have someone who I have been working with for 3 years. We have been on a Friday call every morning at 8 a.m. It used to be 7 a.m. for 3 years together, and he does what I do. He's a coach, a one-on-one coach, and he also is a coach for the beginner people too on the west side. So we're bringing a little bit of the west side over to Albuquerque. Jesse Baca, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
It is fun. It's fun that we don't have a screen between us.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's kind of weird.
Right, we're in the same city, but a lot of times we're on different parts of the city, and so yeah, it's nice to be face to face. So
it is. We need more of that in our world these days.
I know, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about you. Where were you born?
Where was I born? So I was actually born and raised in the small town of Grants, New Mexico, 72 miles west of Albuquerque. Went to school there. I was born there in 1988. So went to high school there, and then I moved to Albuquerque 3 days after I graduated high school. And so I've been here since 2007 now.
Okay, so that's kind of a quick, I graduated and I'm out.
Yeah.
It was what made that happen?
No, I was very excited to, I guess you can say, see the rest of the world, right? And I'm very grateful that I have an older brother who is up here who had some things prepared for me, a room to start renting out, and a job actually that I started working for him in the company that he was with, and so I was ready to transition and I guess you can say just start that next chapter of my life.
How fun. How fun. And your big bro was there to
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
help you out. Are you still close to him?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can fully say I would not be in real estate if it wasn't for my oldest brother. Funny story, he actually paid for me to get my license. I had been working for him for about 7, almost 8 years. And I was like, I think I might look at getting my real estate license. And he said, well, I think that might be a good path for you. And I'd love to help you out. He said, one thing, just pass the test on the first time. And that's the way you can thank me. And so I'd like to think that was the best investment he'd ever made. So
right.
Yeah.
On.
So no, he's super close. I'm close with all my siblings, and yet my oldest brother, I'm super close with him. He's a business owner here locally, and so I'm look up to him a lot, and he's always been a big part of my life for sure.
Well, let's promote his business. What is his business?
Oh yeah, he owns downtown Bourbon and Boots. It's a young business, actually opened during the pandemic, right before, and they made it through and they're thriving right now. So he has a great place downtown in Albuquerque. It's, great music, great food, great appetizers. It's actually a great gem. They have a lot of good things that they're turning around downtown. And so his business is phenomenal.
That is pretty amazing. I would actually like to have him on here for anyone that survived the pandemic in the food and beverage industry.
Yeah.
They are a rock star. Yeah. Let alone survived and they're thriving.
Yeah.
What? Wow. Okay, we're not going to go down that road, but we sure could.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. Okay, so how many kids were there in the Baca family?
So my sister's the oldest, and then there are 3 brothers. So my 2 brothers, I'm the youngest, and I have 2 older brothers.
Oh, you're the baby.
I am the baby, yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
That's a good spot to be in. I like I'm the baby too. So it's
got to learn a lot, right? You learn a lot. And so it was definitely.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you're born and raised here. You working for your brother. Then you think, I'm going to get my real estate license. What made you think about that?
Full transparency. I was kind of at a point in college where I needed to get my stuff together, and my wife now, we were not married at the time, but we were purchasing a home, and and then she got pregnant, and we were bringing a life into this world. So I figured, well, to be honest, I wasn't always the best at school. I'll be completely honest with you. I wasn't always the best in college, and I was great at a lot of the in the fraternity world and things like that, building things, but school just wasn't something that I was, I guess you can say, thriving in. And So real estate was just something I had always, I guess, looked at, and, I guess you can always say it. People look at it, and most of the time they don't take action to do things, right? And I said, well, this is an opportunity, and I wanted my daughter to really grow up and say, well, what is my dad, right? What my dad is this, and this is, I wanted to make her proud to where, and at that time I knew that wasn't going to be the case. So I had to start taking action, and that's what pushed me to start getting my real estate license with my brother's help again. And he had a great contact in the industry through his resources, and so I got connected with the person who ended up hiring me, becoming my mentor, and took me actually through a 6-month interview process before I had even got licensed, and gave me the Red Book, and I read the Red Book before I got licensed. And so things just kind of started escalating pretty quickly. Got licensed, and then started going from there.
Okay, so for those of us that are not Keller Williams that are watching this, the Red Book is?
So the Red Book, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I was handed that book before I got into real estate. Read the book, had no idea really what I was reading, but was intrigued by the way the book is written around mindset. That was something that I was never exposed to at that point in my life, or something that I had ever looked to. So that was something that was very intriguing. The models, I had no idea, right? Running a business, what lead generation models, economic models, what the models are now, the way that we know them. And yet it was intriguing to see what the opportunity was, and the mindset that, I guess you can say, and this is, I've been in Keller Williams, this is my 8th year. I've been in Keller Williams the whole time that I've been in real estate. And it's not like I don't know what's out there, right? Just like everybody else, we get curious at points in our career, and we have conversations, and we see different models, different brokerages. And for me, it's always been what is at the base of Keller Williams, which is God, family, business. And that's how I live my life. That's how I run my team. That's how our family operates. And so that's something, and around that, right, is the people that's built in within the culture. So for me, it's been, getting around the MREA and then understanding that, but had no idea what I was getting myself into.
This is so fascinating for me because I've worked with you now for 3 years, and I cannot imagine a Jesse that is not a Keller Williams Jesse. I can't imagine a Jesse that doesn't know about mindset, a Jesse that's not sending me podcasts saying, you got to check this out. Wow.
Yeah, I can tell you, I tell people this, a lot of newer agents that we're coaching and talking with or coming into the market center, that, the person you see today and is definitely not the person mindset wise, right? I think that when they say people don't change, that's kind of a question, right? I think that people don't change it necessarily in their core, but people can change their mindset, right? When your mind is stretched to a certain point, it can never go back. We know that. And so when you start learning these things and you start looking at it and you say, wow, you have things that sit you back sometimes in our world that you say, wow, I gratitude, coming from a world of gratitude, that's not something that I ever lived in the way I do now before Keller Williams. And I'm not just saying that Keller Williams is the reason, right? But the exposure that is brought into it, and then what's always brought into it. So, and then being able to practice it over time, has been breakdown after breakdown, a lot of failure. And so, I think that it's interesting to think about, but it is, I wouldn't be the father I am, the husband I am, the friend that I am, the son that I am, if it wasn't for a lot of the things that I was exposed to in this world.
It's amazing. We become like the 5 people we spend the most time with. And so you dove in to this pool of mindset and positivity. And before that, what was your thought of someone who was like...
so jealous, so negative. And so I guess when you looked at it, it was always like, are they real, right? Like, is that authentic? and I think before I got in there, you see other people having success and you're bitter and have these negative thoughts. And it was never like, man, I'm seeing people have success and I'm so freaking happy for them. Like, I'm so freaking happy for them. And I can't wait to get to that level. There's no jealousy, right? It's like, and it's also looking at, you're upset at that time because you're not doing the things that you should be doing to be at that part, right? And that's the thing, is we look at other people and we don't understand maybe the hard things that they've gone through in life to get to where they are, right? They're not just successful because they got placed there, right? There's a lot of hard work. We see the top producers in our market, and I tell our agents, you don't know the years that they've gone through to lose money, to make money, to do things the wrong way, unfortunately, to find the success that they're having now. And that's all we see now. And that's what's difficult, because we don't understand the work that goes into it, right? And so being able to appreciate and now being able to say, I'm grateful that I've been humbled. I'm grateful that I understand, what it takes to be at different places. And if we're not there, it's not because of them. It's because of the actions we're taking or not taking.
That's kind of harsh. You mean I'm where I am because of it's my responsibility?
Right? Yeah. And it is, it's a reality. And at the same time, it's, we talk a lot in our world of things we can and cannot control. And there are a lot of things in this world, especially think about the last 2 years, how many uncontrollables there were in our world, that to get through, to continue to make, progress, you had to control what you could control. And that's what's, that's the only thing that at the end of the day your results are going to come from.
Okay, so somebody who's listening to this, how would you characterize your childhood as far as your financial world when you were a kid?
How would I characterize? So I would characterize our financial world as we didn't have money, right? We didn't have a lot of money growing up, and 4 kids in a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. Two of my brothers and I share a bedroom, and my sister had her own room. My parents had a bedroom. And so we didn't have a lot, right? And so we appreciated everything we had. And I think that's where it comes from. And also knowing that, it's not my parents' fault. It's not, they had, maybe they weren't exposed to different things. Maybe, I'm so grateful for my parents. Like, oh my God, Kara, they raised us in the most loving environment that you could ever have. They were married for almost 50 years. My dad just passed away this last February, as you know. And, we just grew up with so much love. It didn't matter about money. It didn't matter about things. It mattered about, family. That was what we grew up with. And so I think now it's always like, that's how I give. And that's one thing is I love, and so we were just brought up to appreciate things, appreciate what you have, work hard for what you want, right? You want these things, we're going to have to work hard for them. And so we were just raised to work hard, to appreciate the things that we had, to treat people with respect. I would say that our childhood was just, we had so much fun though at the same time, right? We were always with our cousins and our other family. And so, it didn't matter about financials or anything like that, but financially we didn't have much. And so we had a ton in the world of love, which was great. And that's what I guess you can say built the foundation for myself to say, well, I know that what we had is this, and there's such a big world out there that we can be exposed to create for not just my family, but my daughter's families, my daughter's daughters' families, and generations to come. So that's, in a nutshell, I guess you could say financially, how we kind of grew up. It wasn't ever a lot of money.
Okay, so now you're in an industry where the ceiling, there is none.
Right.
Zero ceiling.
Right.
How did you adjust your financial thermostat?
I had to first learn that I had to adjust my mindset around money. I had to first adjust my mindset around financial gain, financial wealth, what the opportunity is to make money, and that what the possibility and what the positivity of making money can come with, right? A lot of people think that just because you make a lot of money, it's wealth, greed, things like that, right? I was open to a world of not only can you make a lot of money, or can you do things financially, or do things make your world as big as you want, but you can also help others start making their world as big as they want, right? And you can start giving to foundations and to companies and volunteering with places that you actually care about that are bigger than just yourself. And I think when you start understanding that you do deserve as much as you want to create in your life, and that you can also create that to start giving to others also, that it doesn't have to just be like, what is it going to do when you get there, right? It's, wow, there's so much opportunity that we can do with financial wealth for not just ourselves, but for others. There are a lot of people out there that need help, right? And that's where, if we're able to create big things in our life, we can help create big things in other people's lives around us, in our families' lives. So I guess you can say I'd had to change that basis of the mindset before I could ever start building, because when you think, right, when Gary Keller talks about this a lot, right, you have to be a millionaire in your head before you can be a millionaire on paper. He says that a lot in his podcast and a lot of his conversations, and it's because you have, it's a different thought process. You're thinking differently. There's a different type of system. There's knowledge. There's different things that you want to go after. And so it has to start with mindset first. And then after mindset, it has to be action. You have to take action. The learning has to not just be the learning. You have to fail. You have to take action and fail forward. You have to make sure that you're taking risks and failing forward. You have to be ready to fail. And if you're not taking action, you're just going to have a lot of great knowledge and you're going to have a great mindset. And at the same time, it's not going to get you the results that your mind is trying to get you to get to. Because we can think it up here all day. And at the same time, if I'm not doing the actions to make that happen, then it's just a dream.
Most people, once they fail, they stay down.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you different?
Because I surround myself with people who won't let me. And I have an amazing wife who pushes me day in and day out. And so I think that I make sure that I know that I'm surrounding myself with the right people that not only are there to cheer you on, but there to call you out and say, well, you said that you were going to be doing this, and I love you, Jesse, and doesn't seem like you've been doing that. Is your goal still the same, right? And so having somebody who can hold me accountable, and also having people that can sit there with me sometimes when I need to, right? As Simon Sinek talks about, sometimes when you're in the mud, you just kind of want to sit there, and you don't necessarily need some people to help pull you out of it. But sometimes you just want some people to kind of sit in that mud with you and kind of just say, hey, I don't necessarily need fixing right now, but, and that's a lot of my wife, is she gets to hear a lot of that. And so I'm grateful that I have an amazing, relationship in my life that I can always turn to. And then, having coaching, having coaches, and having everything that we have in our world to hold us and say, you know what? And I know that a lot of my biggest failures have been followed by a lot of big successes, right? And so making sure that, it's temporary. I like to think of that very often, that this is temporary. This part of business, this part of the market, this part of whatever it is, right? If it's a bad thing, it's temporary. Things are going to change. And so that's kind of how I like to.
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass, right?
There you go. Okay, so you're in real estate. When you got into coaching, did you already have your team? When did your team
So actually, I got into real estate in 2016, and, or I guess you could say I got licensed in 2015, but I started in 2016 as an inside sales associate for a year. So and I was actually, like I was telling you, I was working for a team, and so I was working with a team for the first 4 years of my real estate career. Actually, I worked as an ISA for the first year. And if you don't know what an ISA is, right? An ISA is an inside sales associate. A lot of times it's an outside sales associate. Basically, you're just on the phone all day. The reason I really wanted to get into real estate in that level, right? Most people get their license and then they just go into sales right away. I didn't know anything about sales. I didn't know anything about real estate. And I know that this is the biggest financial investment that people are making in their life. So I didn't take that lightly, and I wanted to make this a career. I didn't want to make this part-time. I didn't want to make this, this might be a 1 or 2 year thing. This was something that I'm saying, this is it, baby. We're going all in. So I wanted to make this a career. So I knew I needed to learn the business. I needed to learn how to talk to people, what lead generation is, what lead follow-up is, what systems are. And I'm grateful that I had such an amazing support system in that team for those first 4 years to help me grow, help me develop into, after, getting into transitioning in sales and working with buyers, working with sellers at a high level. And then in the pandemic, actually, it was early 2020, where we had gotten to a point in the business where I felt like the next step was, it was time for myself to start operating my own business and start working on my own. And so that's when I had actually, January of 2020, I had left the team that I was working on and I stayed with the same Mark Center, still with Keller Williams, but that's when I opened Baca and Associates under my own brand in 2020. And so for the first couple of years, it's only been myself. And so just recently we brought in an agent, looking at another couple agents. And so we're just recently starting to grow. I wanted my team to grow naturally. I wanted it to grow organically. I didn't want to recruit. I want people to be attracted to our business because of why we do business. And so I want, we're not looking to necessarily, I'm not looking to grow a huge team or anything like that. I'm just, I love helping people in the real estate side. And so coaching, and that's when I also stepped into that coaching role. And so 2020.
All at the same time?
All at the same time in 2020. Yeah, I actually
And the world was pretty crazy at that time.
And the world was pretty crazy, yeah. So funny story. And when I first started with Go Coaching was that February, and that was part of the reason I had started going out on my own too, because I wanted to start coaching, and that was a huge opportunity that in the market center I had a conversation with our team leader Juan, and I said, I just want to help people still. I want to make sure. I had seen some great real estate professionals in our market leave the market center because they had, at that point we didn't have the coaching that we have now. We didn't have the trainings that we have now. And so there were people leaving because of that. And I told, I had a conversation with our team leader and I said, I don't want that to happen. Our market center is too good. We have too much to offer. Keller Williams has too much to offer. And I believe in the company. I truly do. I'm not just trying to sell it. I truly, believe in what it is. And that's what I said. So that's where the opportunity with Go Coaching, and Go Coaching was just kind of starting out. Mm-hmm. And this was before Dusty. This is actually before Cinda. This was before a lot of our leadership that we have in Go Coaching that I'm so grateful for today. We had nothing. And we had Edie. Yeah. And we had this LEAP coaching program. And so this is full transparency. This is crazy how this all happened. She was supposed to come down into our market center and have launch our first LEAP in our market center. And that was in February. And then in March, the world got shut down, right? So, and what also happened in March of that year was we had our second child.
Oh my gosh.
We had our second child. And our Maddie J, May 8th, March 8th, she was born. and the world shut down 3 days later, the day we were taking her home. So joining coaching and have my own company that I'm running, and then we have our baby. And talk about a blessing in disguise, though, right? Because all of this works out perfectly. Leap ends up, Edie can't come down. She says, I can't come down. You know, the world shut down, obviously. We can't do anything in the market centers. And yet people were so hungry. They needed something, right? They needed something. And grateful for our leadership, they said, just do it. They gave me the coaching material, and they said, run Leap. I had never been taught Leap. I had never been said, this is the material, these are the notes. We had 15 people stay on for a full week, 3 hours a day. I did it on my kitchen table, and it was a huge success. It was what kicked off coaching in our market center. And it was a changing point in my career. And this is what's interesting, is that I don't promote a lot that I coach real estate. And I'll tell you, it's been an interesting, I can't think of what I'm thinking of, but how we view ourselves, right? Our perception of ourselves. And one thing I never want to stop is my real estate company. And I guess the limiting belief I have is that if I start promoting that I coach real estate, that people are going to think that I'm stepping away from my business. And so, and it's becoming, right? Like, you've been coaching people for a long time, right? I've been coaching people for 3 years. And so it's just like anything else, just like with running, just like with anything else. You have to do it for enough time, even for your own brain, to say, yeah, you're a great real estate coach. You actually are a great real estate coach. And truly believe that in yourself. The same way with real estate professionals. A lot of people get into real estate and they say, oh yeah, I just got licensed. I just got my real estate license, and I'm so excited to help somebody buy a home, right? Versus the real estate professional who owns a company. Oh, I own a real estate company. We help people buy, sell, and invest. Those are two completely different answers, right?
Yes, sir.
Somebody knows who they are. Somebody has said, you know what, I've been helping people for years, but that's not how they felt in the beginning. And it's understanding that, right? And the same with the coach is saying, you almost create that disbelief of like, well, am I a coach? Or, you know, am I a good coach? Am I a bad coach? And I'll tell you that I've been both, right? Honestly, and it's taken a lot of learning and a lot of coaching on my end to get feedback from great coaches of saying, you know, you're doing this well and you're not doing this really well, right? And as a real estate professional, we learn to take that well. But in the world of coaching, it's a different, because we think we're on the same level, and we're not on the same level sometimes. And we are very humbled in that world because there are people who have helped people for a long time, and they're helping us. So it's interesting to view that and also take that as like, that is what I am, right? And so just, again, I told you I was going to be very transparent with you today. And that's just kind of so the whole coaching thing, and that's been an incredible growing journey in helping others.
The best way to learn anything is?
Just teach it.
So becoming a coach has helped you in your life in what ways?
It's helped me in understanding so many different ways that people struggle. And it's helped me in understanding how much opportunity there is in our own lives to really, you know, I guess it's to really just take advantage, right? To make sure that we are help. I've had so many coaching conversations that when we walk out, the person feels different. I feel different. And that probably may not have happened had we had the conversation that we've had. And it's helped me grow as a person because, one, I'm helping others. It's not someone necessarily helping me that I think. But every time we're coaching someone, they're helping us in a way that we don't even think about it, right? By being able to learn how to listen to people and not worry about myself. It's helped me in being able to help people overcome limiting beliefs. I remember on a flight when we were coming back from Dallas one time, we were sitting next to each other, and you had asked me a question, and you said, Jesse, you said, what's one of the you probably don't even remember this. You said give me a great story or a great win from one of your coaching sessions. And it was kind of earlier in my coaching, and I was trying to think really hard, and I was like, wow, I could, nothing just couldn't come to mind for some reason. And I was like, wow. And it made me kind of think, like, have I not had any success stories? Like, have none of my coaching people had any breakthroughs? And then I started seeing so many breakthroughs. The thing that happened was I wasn't looking for them. We focus so much on the problem that we don't necessarily see the breakthroughs sometimes. And so when we're focusing on other people's problems, we have to make sure that we're not focusing on their problems, helping make sure that we're always finding solutions or being solution oriented. And so being able to identify, being able to understand, and also being able to understand points of view, right? Perception versus reality. Mm-hmm. What is perception? What is reality? What are people's reality? And everyone's reality is different, right? Everyone's experience in this life has been different, which shapes their reality, which shapes our reality. So being able to help people identify their own limiting beliefs or their own sense of, this is what I think. Well, what if you thought this, right?
How does it feel when are you mostly on Zoom?
Actually, most of mine are in person.
In person. Okay, so how does it feel when you're sitting across the table from someone and you ask them a question and they think about it a minute and then they go, how does that feel?
It feels, it's almost an indescribable feeling because you've been wanting them to feel that for so long. And it's almost, I would almost say it's relief. If I could put it into words, it's almost like they felt it, right? Because they can hear it all they want, but did they feel it? And when they feel it, they show it. And that's where it changes. And that's where you can say, right? There's no words that you even need to say. It's oh. Right? Yep. And then we're like, yeah, exactly, right? and it's incredible. It really is. And because it's incredible because the ripple effect that it takes in the world. Meaning that it didn't just come an aha to them. That's going into the 5 closest people in their world, whether that's their family, their kids, their friends of friends. And that's when their mind's expanding too, right? We're shaping other people's lives that we're not even having conversations with. That's incredible.
It's pretty cool.
Very cool, right?
It is.
Right.
And you had to earn the right, and you earn it every time you get on a coaching call. Mm-hmm. You had to earn the right for them to open up to you that way. How does that happen?
Well, I feel like we have a good system in getting to know people before we dive into that coach relationship, right? And so that helps a lot in understanding who people are, what their goals are. And then a lot of it comes with, I guess you can say, trust, right? But how does that trust get built?
Yeah.
How does that trust get built in a coach? Because here's the stigma with coaches, right? And this is where I give my friend Dario a lot of hard time because he likes to say, those who coach, or he says, those who coach cannot do, or something like that. And I think it's so funny because I'm like, well, let's get on a dialer and let's call expireds together. Let's circle prospect together. Let's make phone calls. Let's lead generate. Let's script practice together. With anybody in our office, I'd love to. Please. Right? Because I can do. Trust me. I can do. And so being able to, but that doesn't impress people. That doesn't impress people, right? And that's not what we want to do, is impress people. That's not what coaching is. Coaching is being able to listen, right? Being able to first understand and listen to somebody and say, I just want to hear you, right? What is that? The next is understanding how people operate, right? There's different types of personality traits. So meeting people what they're at, how to be able to give feedback, how they would like to receive feedback, right? Just being able to building that relationship the way we would with a seller or a buyer, right? There's a system and a process, and as long as we're doing it from a place of really trying to help them reach their goals, and we have the right tools. And the other part is holding them accountable. I think that's one of the biggest things that we can do, is be there to say, well, you know what, this is great, I love the conversation, and did you do what we were going to do last week, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not because we're trying to harp on them. And yet, if I am in a weight loss challenge and I know that I have to go weigh in every single week, I know the scale's not going to lie, right? Mm-hmm. So I know if I don't do my work that way, it's the same in real estate. That's just not how people look at it, because they don't have to step on a scale every week. When you have a coach, or when you have someone holding you accountable, you have a scale every week you got to go weigh in on.
There you go.
Right? And and that's where we come from, and that's where I guess we win, is when we're being able to help and being able to make them feel like, okay, look, the reason we have you track these numbers isn't so we can tell you, you didn't make your calls, you didn't do this. It's so that we can say, hey, it's not an activity issue. You're doing the activities. You're making the phone calls. It's just that we're not getting the appointments. So it's just something that we need to work on in the conversations that we're having, right? Mm-hmm. And so being able to identify places in their business, whether it's being able to look at their finances with them and say, what does running a business look like? What does a profit and loss look like? Right? It's being able to help understand that to be in real estate in the long term, to run this a long term, is that, you can't just sell a couple. We have to look at this as a business, especially when you start getting to, the first couple years in business, when you have had some success and you are starting to say, okay, what's next, right? It's starting to say, okay, now's the time we need to dial in. And so it's helping, having conversations, being real with them. And then I would say that it's, one of the biggest things I've learned is helping not give as much personal examples. Like, I like to give them other people's examples, because I feel like people learn, they don't necessarily want to hear about me.
Well, I want to hear about you, though, on this, because one of the things about being a coach, in my opinion, is you have to hold yourself to a much higher standard.
Okay.
In order to have the respect of the people that you're coaching.
100%.
You started running. Like, what happened there? Tell me about that journey.
So running happened because so during the pandemic, right? And this was in 2020 also, right? 2020 was a fantastic year. I had a lot of change in life that year. And yet, so 2020, later in 2020, I had an Apple Watch, like one of the first Apple Watches that you can have, and it was charging in my kitchen, and my daughter went to do something, my oldest daughter, and she went to do something, and she pulled the charger, and my watch fell on the thing, and it broke. And so I had to invest in a new watch. And so I was looking at this, and I was like, well, I'm not at the healthiest point in my life, to be honest with you. One of the things that I do every single night is I carry my daughter up the stairs on my back, and she's getting bigger, and I was getting bigger, and it wasn't getting easier. It was getting harder. So I needed to start getting active, right? So I was like, well, if I invest in a watch, maybe I could look at something that's going to help me in my fitness world too. So I did a lot of research, and at the time there was a Nike Apple Watch coming out, and I love Apple products in general. So I invested into this Apple Watch, and I also, because we are coaches and we're on that coaching call, right, we make commitments, right? And we were on a coaching call, And I said on that coaching call, I said, you know what, I'm going to run a half marathon. And Dusty's on the call. You know, we have all of our coaches on the call. And then we got off the call, and I said, wow, I just said that out loud. And all of these coaches heard that. And if you're a coach saying that to a lot of coaches, they're going to ask you every single week, how's that running journey going, Jesse? How's your training going, Jesse? How's that going, right? So share your goals with somebody is a great way to hold yourself accountable. And with that watch came a training program through Nike that I was like, well, it comes through the app. So I just started following the training on it. It's a Nike training half marathon, comes with the watch. And so that started my running journey. I had actually written down to run a half marathon for probably 5 years before I actually ran it as a yearly goal. And I just never took action to do it. Because here's the relationship that I had with running so I can say now I'm a runner. I can tell you again. And it's before what I would say is, oh my gosh, I just ran 3 miles, but I hate running. Oh my gosh, I just ran 2 miles and it was the worst thing ever. Right? So I would do that positive thing, but have such a negative relationship with it in my mind. And I never wanted to believe that I liked running. So when I changed my mindset to start thinking like, wow, you know what? I truly enjoy running. I enjoy going for long runs. I enjoy the mental fitness that it puts you through. And then it also turned into weight loss. It turned into healthier lifestyles. And now it's turned into an expensive obsession of shoes and things like that. But at the same time, I've now run 4 half marathons. This year, the goal is actually a triathlon.
Wow.
And then a full marathon in the Duke City Marathon this year. And so, you know, the one thing I know, Kara, is that there's going to be a time in my life where I may not be able to run. And so if I can do it now, I know I'm not going to be on my deathbed saying, God, I should have run those marathons. I had that opportunity, right? I should have done a triathlon or done this or done that. And there's no more looking back and saying that because I'm healthy. I'm fully able to now. And I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, much less 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. And so we're not taking action on that stuff now. That's where I said, well, you know, not only, so kind of started from there and then just escalated and found other people in my world. One of my great lenders, great friends, Lee Smith with PRMI, he's a runner also. And so he holds me accountable. And we were, how's running going? We've run half marathons together. And so again, just surrounding yourself with those people too that care or want to do the like things that you do and also push you in mental and physical ways.
So what impact do you feel that you're running will have on your kids have in the future? I'm sure it has impact now, but like looking back, my dad ran a marathon.
You know, I guess I've never thought that of how it's impacted my kids. I hope it's impacting them in the sense of understanding that I care about my health, right? I like to do physical things and also to challenge yourself. I don't, 13 miles is still a pretty good amount of miles. It's not a full marathon, and yet it's still a pretty good amount of miles. But doing things that are challenging also. I want them to grow up understanding that those challenging things are what have the best results, right? The best return, and that's a lot of work. And the training is, if you follow the training, it is so tough. Mentally, it's tough, right? And it's like, well, how am I going to do this, right? And you just do it. It's just 1 foot at a time, just 1 foot at a time, just 1 foot at a time. So I remember Dusty would always tell us, just 1 foot at a time. So.
Yeah. Sure miss him. Well, I can't thank you enough for spending this time with us today. You are a good person. You're a good man. I love being on the same coaching team with you. And any last parting words, any books, podcasts, anything you want to leave people with that they should, if they want to get from where they are to where they want to be?
Gosh, I'd say if anything, find 3 to 5 people that influence you not only in your mindset, but also influence you like you feel it in your soul, right? There are a couple people who, like Jesse Itzler is one person who I follow, and he has some great books. He has Living with a Seal. He has Living with Monks. Those are both very, very good books. I also follow Ed Milet. He just came out with another great book. He just came out with his great book. I also like podcasts. Ed Milet has one of the best podcasts, and he interviews some of the most incredible people and business savvy people, I guess you can say, in the world. And then I'd say another person that I follow who has a lot of positive stuff is a guy named Nick Santonastasso.
Can you say that again real slow?
Nick Santonastasso. And so he actually was introduced to us through David Roybal, brought him in, and he's good friends with him. But he's just an incredible human being. And so just being able to follow their stories. And I think that if you can follow people and so yeah, I can name a ton of books. I just, Leaders Eat Last, anything Simon Sinek.
Right.
Simon Sinek is great. James Clear, Atomic Habits. Mm-hmm. If you haven't read that book, that's another fantastic book. And but yeah, I would say find a couple people and then there's books and kind of a whole tree that can follow along there.
Good advice. Good advice. Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thank you, Kara. I appreciate you.